welcome. Welcome to our new show, Southeastern Connecticut, Real Estate Questions and Answers. And I'm here with April.
Hi.
Hi, April. And we're here to answer your questions and to guide you along to either sell or buy a house. So I know people have lots and lots of questions all the time. So we thought we'd like to kind of let people know what the process is. So, but first, what I'd like to do is, so many times people ask me, what's the state of the market? What's the market like? Well, really, honestly, it all depends. Are you a buyer? Are you a seller? So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about selling your home, how to prepare your house to sell your home. And the first thing I want to show you, which I think is would be very interesting to see, is some of the stats that we have recently. So if we could put that those numbers up, that would be terrific. And then I can explain them. So here we are. This is New London County. So the single family market updates for New London County. Now this is comparing last January 2024 to this January 2025. So if you take a look, the new listings in New London County last year were 196. This year, now this is single family, this year it's 181. Kind of a bit of a difference, a minus of 7.7%, which, you know, is kind of a lot, really. So the closed sales, though, were in 24 were 147, and the closed sales in 25 are 157. So that's 10 more. So that's 6.8% increase. So here's the interesting part is, and everybody always wants to know this, what's the average sales price? So this is now, keep in mind that this is New London County, and the average sales price was $350 last year in 2024. This year, it's $356. So it was really only 1.7% increase. So in the last year. So that's not a lot, but it's still better than decrease, because everyone's always saying, oh, our price is going to go down, price is going to go down. We don't know. We really don't know. So let's move on to condos. This is really interesting. The number of new listings in January 24 were 27. Now that's just in that month of January. This year, the new listings were 44. So the percent that changed would 63% changed. Now the closed sales last year were 24, which is pretty strong. And then the closed sales this year were 29 in January. So that was an increase of 20%. But this is really interesting. The average sales price in 24 was $280,079. This year in January, look at that big jump, $345,317, which was a 23.3% change.
That's a big change.
That is a huge change. So keep all this in mind. And now the rental market really hasn't changed much. I'll just skip to the average monthly lease price, which is kind of about the same. It went from $1943 last year, and this year it's $1966. Now keep in mind, again, that's the average price. So you're going to find some above that, obviously, and some below that. So that change was 1.2% increase. So I think you'll find that this is interesting. I found it interesting. And, so when you ask the question, how's the market? You might want to refer back to these numbers and see that it's always increasing, which is really good. So that's what we have for the market updates today. So we'll keep you posted on different shows as these updates come to us. We'll keep everybody informed about that. April, have anything to say about that?
I think it's just exciting to know that things are still around New London County are still progressively going up. Although other markets I've heard, say in Florida, their prices have been drastically decreasing.
Right.
So that's good for our area. And of course you have to watch it because the trends can always change.
Yeah.
But for right now, that's a good stat and a good view of our market.
And I think we're in a great area as far as sales because we have, you know, all the new people coming into Electric Boat. We have a lot of big employers in the area. So I think that we're always going to be, you know, on the upside of things. We hope, right? We hope. We never know what's going to happen. So we are going to show you today how to go about selling your home. So we have a video that we're going to go through, and then once the video is over, then we'll talk a little bit more at the end. So can we have that video, please? So what goes into selling a home? So we're going to share with you.
There are many reasons, of course, to sell a home. Why someone might decide to sell their home depends on their situation. Expanding your family, opportunities, such as landing a new job, or if your company relocates. Also, you could get married and need to consolidate your properties. Realizing that your home is a bit too large for your current lifestyle and deciding to downsize. There are also unfortunate reasons such as probate, pre-foreclosure, or divorce. But how do you sell your home? You might be wondering, where do you even begin? Do you try to sell on your own? Or do you hire a professional? Choosing a professional is definitely the best option, but how do you go about choosing the best agent to work with you? That's always the toughest question. There's different ways you can find a good agent for yourself. One way is to read reviews of agents on websites or check if they have videos showcasing their work. You could also talk to colleagues. Once you find one, you're going to make sure they work with you and you like them and you can work great.
So one of the things that we'll do once you decide who your agent's going to be is we'll actually come into the home, review the home, sit down and go, and then we will put together a comparative market analysis. And some other things that you'll have to be aware of is that there are some disclosures based on how old your house is and on the age of your house. There are some disclosures you'll have to do.
Then we'll help you prepare and stage your home and put up a sign so that people know that your house is for sale. Of course, we'll also have an open house to invite people in to see your lovely property.
Once someone decides they want to put an offer in on your house, and sometimes it's more than one, then we would go over the offers and come to an agreement. And then the buyers would then have home inspection, septic inspection if it's needed, and then the buyers would then have an appraisal done. So, and then the mortgage process.
Yep. And then once the mortgage process is done, your agent will help you and to close the deal. So
And
that
there you are.
you sold your house.
There you are, yay. Everybody's happy, buyers, sellers, agents, everybody's happy.
That's the way it should
Attorneys,
be.
they're all happy. That's when we break out the champagne. Well, sometimes.
There are a few points, though, that I do want to talk a little bit more on, and that's if you choose to go for sale by owner versus hiring an agent. It's always a better choice to hire an agent because they know what they're doing, they're licensed, and you'll end up statistically selling your home for better profit and easier and less stress on you, which is always great. But then you have to worry about, well, how do you choose the right agent? And that is a personal matter. You have to definitely talk to different agents, interview them, see how you get along with them. And just like a lot of agents might have the same tools, and I hear that a lot. They're like, oh, all agents have the MLS, which is the multiple listing service, and they have the same tools. They may not use those tools the same way. It's like if you have a cooking competition and you have all the chefs in the same kitchen with the same tools and equipment and food, but they all come up with different dishes. And then sometimes you'll have a cook that might have extra tools at their ability to use, and they could help you with your unique property and your unique situation and goals. So it's always best to shop around and to figure out who would work best for you.
All right, let's see. Would
What
you
other
like me
type of
to-
questions do you get often?
Well, you know what? Let's talk about the CMA. I talked about a comparative market analysis. So what we would do, a lot of people will actually call and say, oh, I know my house is worth $400,000 or whatever, $1 million, whatever it might be. And the way that they reach that number is they go typically on one of the sites online like Zillow, Realtor, Redfin. There's all types of sites that they can go to, which is good. We like that. However, we would actually take the time to go in into the MLS, and we would make those comparisons. And you know, sometimes we come up with the same number, but many times we'll come up with different numbers. So it's good to have an idea when you call an agent and ask an agent, so you have an idea in your mind, but many times the numbers really come out a little different. The other thing is there are many different disclosures that need to be taken care of, need to be filled out when you're selling your house. And there's state disclosures, whether you're doing it yourself as a for sale by owner, you need to fill out, it's state law, you have to fill out these disclosures. There's a lead disclosure. If your house was built before 1978, then you need to fill out a lead disclosure stating that you're aware that there's no lead in your house. Or you may have had lead in your house and you had it taken care of, and you have documentation on that. So the other is, depending on where you live in the state, might be a concrete disclosure.
Yeah, the concrete foundation disclosure.
Concrete foundation, thank you, April. I just couldn't come up with that word. And, you know, there's many forms that are filled out before you can actually sell your house. And those forms are shared with the buyers. So that is for the buyer's information. So we give that to the buyers once some buyers interested.
Yep. Another form was the inclusion-exclusion form, where you would put on what items are going to stay with the house when you sell it and what items you're going to take with you when you sell the house. That way the buyers know if the refrigerator, for example, is staying or not.
That's a good point. And then, you know, once the buyer and seller come to an agreement, it's called the contract, then we move forward with inspections if the buyers so choose to have inspections, which, you know, I personally always recommend that they have inspections. So the inspections would be, you know, you have an inspector come in and they check everything in the house, the structure, all the working utilities, water pressure, all types of things. And if you have a septic system, then I advise you also get a septic inspection. I think that's super important, no matter how the age of the house. I just think that's important. And once that is done, and then there could possibly be a negotiation on the inspections where the buyers may want the sellers to fix something, or, and so that is another part of the selling process. And then after that, the appraiser comes in, that usually typically is hired by the bank for the buyers. Unless it's a cash sale, then it's up to the buyers if they want to have an appraisal or not. And the appraisal, a lot of people get this mixed up. They talk about assessments and appraisals. So there's a big difference there. An assessment is what the town has assessed your house at, and that's what they use to come up with your taxes. So they take your mill rate and the assessment, and then that's what your taxes are. An appraisal is 70% typically, but not always, 70% of the value of the appraisal. The appraisal is 70%. The assessment is 70% of the appraisal.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it
let
can
me
be
say
confusing.
that again. Everybody gets confused. Usually I'm not, but so that's there's a big difference there. So when you see on a property card the assessment, that isn't what the value of the house is. That's 70% of what is perceived by the town, which honestly may or may not be the correct value. Most times it's not. So
a lot of times towns only will do their assessments once every so many years, so it could be well out of date.
True, absolutely true. Yep. And so then I'm going to turn it over to April.
Yep. Another important thing is to know that there are many different steps when you're going to sell your house, and that's why it's an important reason to have an agent to help you, because there are certain time points where things need to be done, like an earnest money deposit needs to be submitted within a certain amount of time once the offer has been agreed upon and signed by both parties. Another time stamp is when the inspections are due and when the appraisals are due, and you have to make sure all these steps are followed to get to the closing, which is the exciting part.
Yes, it is. And then, people ask all the time, do I need an attorney? The answer is yes. Whether you're selling your house or buying a house in Connecticut, it is important to have an attorney for both sides. So, and they come into play at the end of the process, just before closing. They'll come up with the closing statement, how much you're going to be getting back, what all the expenses are. They'll send you a closing disclosure. You have to read it carefully, and then make that decision. Yes, this is right. This is correct, and then they set up the closing date. So, and it's not like in the old days. I call it the old days. I haven't been to a closing since COVID. Maybe one or two, but typically we don't go to closings because during COVID, agents weren't allowed to go to closings, and it kind of just continued. But not only that continued, but what is continuing is that the buyers and the sellers do not get together in the same room. So the buyers usually meet with their attorney, and that attorney gets the paperwork over to the other attorney, and then the sellers meet with their attorney. And it's all done very differently today. And many times it was very helpful to be in the same room as the seller, as the buyer and the seller together. But unfortunately, that is not the case today. So keep that in mind, because if you have questions for the buyer, or if you want to give the buyer some information about the house, there's ways we can get that to the buyer. So, what else can we talk about?
Well, there's a lot of questions, and we're going to bring them forward in future shows, but we can touch upon them a little bit now. I know there's a lot of questions about what lenders to use and what types of loans are out there for different people, and is it better to rent versus buy? And there's different options to buy as well. There's condos, there's manufactured homes, and of course there's single-family homes and multifamily homes, and so there's a lot of different topics that we can cover.
I wasn't sure if our phone numbers would come up on the screen because we were going to ask that you text your questions to us for the next show. Our next show is going to be talking about buyers, so the steps for buyers. And we are planning to have guests on our show, and such as lenders, attorneys, inspectors, and also we're going to do a show on how to become an agent, which I think a lot of people ask me, how do I become an agent? And what are the steps to becoming an agent? So we're going to address that as well. And if you can think of anything else that we should be, having a guest for, we'd be open to your suggestions. So you can always Google us, I guess, and get our numbers, and we can help you with that as well if you have, any questions you might have. So, So if you have any questions, even if it's a simple question of what does this abbreviation stand for,
or anything. Just let us know and we'll be more than happy to answer your question. Even if we don't get it in the format of a show, we'll definitely get back to you with an answer. Because real estate is fun, it's exciting, it's always changing. And yeah, there's always new questions.
I like that, always changing. Yes, it is always changing, it is. And that's what makes it a lot of fun. Sometimes it's always changing. And things always change. We were just discussing that you can put a schedule together in the morning at 8 a.m. and by 9, it's all changed. Everything's changed. Because, it's a business that clients come first, so no matter what, we always have to change things, and it's kind of fun. So, anyway, we hope that we are helping you decide on how to sell your home. And if you remember the stats that I gave in the beginning, it's a good time to put your house on the market. Everyone has, pretty much everyone has some equity in their homes, as houses are still appreciating. And they're, people say all the time, oh, it's crazy that the prices of houses. Well, yeah. But as you can see, it's, the average price is going up, especially on those condos.
Yeah.
I mean, that just surprised me. Like, wow, that's a big jump, 23%.
And I do know that a lot of people are worried about the interest rates, but a wise person always told me that you marry the house, you don't marry the interest rate. Because we really can't tell if the interest rate is going to go up or down.
Right.
So if you wait, you know pretty much by the stats that the price of the houses is going to continue to rise. As far as if we're reading the stats, we can't guarantee it. But so it's, in my opinion, it's always the right time to buy and the right time to sell.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, April. That's absolutely right. And unfortunately, we don't have a crystal ball, so we don't know what's going to happen. And even though we are professionals in the business, it is sometimes a little challenging when people ask the questions, because we really don't know. No one knows, really. And but we try to give the best answers that we can, and the stats will, are what we go by. And what I am noticing today, like during COVID, it was we seldom had a house that was reduced in price. But what I'm noticing today is because because houses are being priced a little higher sometimes than they really should be, I think, they do end up being reduced. But it's not that the prices are coming down. It's just that when they put it on the market, it was too high. So, and we all are becoming used to these higher prices. So I think that's why there's so many condos selling, is because they are lower priced. And keep in mind, if you get pre-approved and you go to purchase a condo instead of a single family home, keep in mind the HOA fees, because you're going to have fees, and that all goes into your how much you can afford and what you're pre-approved for. So keep that in mind.
I think it might also be due to the lifestyles of people. A lot more people are a lot more busy,
my gosh,
and they don't have time, or maybe they don't want to take care of their lawns and deal with that kind of thing. So they find condos more appealing. So I think that could be also why the rise in the condo prices.
Yeah. And I think the fact that we have so many young people purchasing that are working at EB, and that, they're smart, they buy instead of renting. And that's, because when the average rent is $1,900, that's a lot of money in a month you could be putting towards a mortgage. So that could be too. There's a lot of different reasons.
Yep.
Well, I am excited we got through this first show.
I am too, and I'm looking forward to hearing people's questions so that we can make more shows to help you understand more things about real estate and to help you on your journeys. And
so if you know anyone who's thinking about selling, just share this tape, share this show with them, and it could be very helpful to them. It could answer a lot of questions, especially if somebody's selling for the first time and they're not sure what to do.
Yeah, because if they don't know the steps, it can be a little bit overwhelming at first.
Yeah.
But when you break it down, it's not so bad, especially if you have someone in your corner to help you out.
Yep, exactly. So, April, I think it's time for us to say goodbye for today.
I think so, but we'll be seeing you soon.
Yeah, yep. And don't forget, our next show is going to be on buyers. So if you know anybody thinking about buying, you might want to tune in to our next show. Thanks so much.
Thanks. See you next time.
Yep.